Hi everyone, my name is Kendrick and welcome to Travel and Live Free. In this channel, our goal is to help Canadians use points and miles to go on more adventure travel. So whether you like to go trekking, hiking, or maybe you like to travel to destinations that most people would never go to, or maybe you like to see some of the world wonders, whether that be natural or man-made, then this channel is for you. Now in this video, we're gonna cover the topic on how to go on African wildlife safaris. So after speaking with some of my readers and viewers in this channel, I came to realize that one of the areas that a lot of people have been asking me about is how to go on an African safari. And that's a very good question, and I've gotten a chance to actually go on a few safaris, and I can tell you right now, it is one of the best things I have ever done in my life. I still remember the first time I went on a safari back in South Africa, and I went to Kruger National Park with my girlfriend Karen, and to tell you the truth, it was one of those things that just blew my mind. Like the first time I saw a giraffe coming out of the bushes and just absolutely shocked both me and Karen, and it was just such a magical experience.
Oh my god, it's so big! He's just looking at us!
Now, if you plan on going on safaris to Africa, do keep in mind that going on safaris is not cheap. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to cover some ways that you could potentially save some money when you go on safaris, because to tell you the truth, it is not cheap at all. Now, before we cover the money saving tips on how to get yourself to Africa and save some money when you go do your safaris, first we're going to talk about all the different destinations that you can go to in Africa to get the best safari experience. So one of the destinations that's number one in my opinion, and a lot of people will probably agree, is Tanzania. Now Tanzania is easily one of the best places to go because there is so many animals there that is very easy to see due to the landscape of the country. So you can go to places like Serengeti and the Ngorongoro crater, and you can go and see lots of animals all over the place. Now keep in mind, I've never been there yet, but it's on my bucket list and I definitely want to go there sometime in the future. So when people go to Tanzania, the animals that they want to see the most is most likely going to be the big five, which are the buffaloes, lions, elephants, rhinos, and leopard. Besides the big five, there's obviously the hyenas and the hippos and the giraffes, and of course the very famous wildebeest migration. Now, do keep in mind that if you want to go to Tanzania to see the wildebeest migration, there are certain months where it's better to go than other months. Now, for my research, March and April and November and December are not the best months to go and see the wildebeest migration. However, you can still see them, but just for my research, they are not really the best time. With that being said, if you want to save money on seeing the wildebeest migration, going on off-peak season might be better for your wallet. So one of the most typical off-peak season is between April and May. Now the funny thing is, May is actually a good time to go to Tanzania to go see the wildebeest migration. So it's off-peak season and it's still a good time to go see them. So it's a win-win for your wallet and also for viewing experience. Now Tanzania has a lot of places where you can do a safari, and I did write an article on it. So if you want to see a more detailed list on all the lists of safaris that you can go to in Tanzania as well as other African countries, you can go ahead to the description below and just click that link where I published the article, and you can go ahead and read that article and you can see the more detailed list. Now, how much does it cost to do a safari in Tanzania? Now, like I said, I've never been there before, so I can only provide you with information based on my research. Later on, I'll be talking about other safaris where I've personally been to, and I can give you some of the prices that I personally paid when I went to them. So in general, if you want to go on a budget safari, you're looking to pay between $1,000 to $2,000 US for a budget safari. So what does budget safari mean? Well, usually when you go on a budget safari, you typically stay in a tent and you're going to be camping. While if you go on a mid-range safari or a luxury safari, then you actually get an accommodation, and usually they're very fancy. You get a nice dinner and it's, over the top. Mid-range safari usually range between, $2,000 to $4,000, while luxury safari can go upwards up to $10,000. So it's definitely not cheap. Now, I did hear that if you go to Tanzania and you book your tour once you enter the country itself, as opposed to booking ahead of time online, it might actually be cheaper for you because a lot of the cheaper tour companies actually don't have a website. Now, if you are scared that you're gonna get scammed, if you go with a company that's not reputable, then you can always check with Tanzania Association of Tour Operators. So I'll link that website below, and make sure that company that you're negotiating with is actually on that list on that website. And if they're on the list, then chances are they are legitimate and you have just saved yourself some money. Now, this strategy is only good if you do have time to go negotiate. So do bear that in mind. So if you have a limited amount of time for vacation, then you might just have to eat the cost and book it ahead of time. Now, can you do your own safari in Tanzania? Can you rent a car and drive yourself to one of the national parks? Yes, you can, but from what I've heard, if you do it this way, it's harder to see the animals because typically when you join a tour operator, they know where the animals are, or at least they're more accustomed to tracking the animals, which raises the probability of you seeing the animals that you want to see. Also, when you go with a tour operator, from what I've heard for Tanzania specifically, apparently it's actually cheaper to go with a tour operator because they get discounts on park permits and also with accommodations. So just do bear that in mind when you're going to Tanzania. But if you really insist on driving yourself and doing your own self-driven safari, then I recommend you go to South Africa instead, which leads us to the next country where it's very popular to go on safaris, which is South Africa. Like I mentioned before, South Africa was one of the first places that I've gotten a chance to do a safari myself. And what I did was I rented a car from Johannesburg, and I think I paid about $27 to $29 Canadian per day for the car rental. And me and Karen, we got a chance to go to Kruger National Park. We went inside the park and we did our own safari. Now, to enter Kruger National Park, we paid, I believe, 400 South African Rand, which roughly converts to $37 Canadian. So that's pretty relatively cheap to go on your own safari because you're looking to pay about maybe $80 per day if you drive yourself. I was looking at tour companies if you wanted to join tours to go to Kruger National Park, and you're looking to pay close to $900, which is a big difference. From my experience, Kruger National Park is the best place to do your own self-driven safari because the roads are well paved and well marked, so you're not gonna get lost, and there's so many animals in that park that you're definitely gonna see something.
Oh my god, elephants crossing. Oh, what more? Oh my god! It's walking towards us!
He looked at us. What's coming?
Ah! Ah!
As an added bonus, they actually have a Marriott hotel right outside Kruger National Park. And that Marriott is called Protea Kruger Gate. So me and Karen actually stayed there for 2 nights when we did our own safari. And we used our Marriott points and redeemed it on that property. And we ended up getting a free night stay. So like I said, South Africa is one of the best places to do your own self-driven safari. And I absolutely love every minute of it. I still remember driving by a whole bunch of Pumbaa looking animals and zebras and antelopes, and I swear I just felt like I was in Lion King. It was that amazing. Another country that's popular for doing African safaris is Kenya. And in Kenya, most people would go to the Masai Mara. Now, I've never been there yet. However, this coming year, I'm actually going to go to Kenya. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do a safari because I'm only there for 24 hours. With that being said, you can actually do a safari if you're only in Kenya for 24 hours because they do have the Nairobi National Park right beside Nairobi. So you can do a safari there and see some animals. Now, I don't want to do that because if I go to Kenya and I want to do a safari there, I'd rather do it in Masai Mara. And with that being said, Masai Mara and Serengeti are closely connected together. So I'll probably just skip that altogether and I'll personally just go to Tanzania. However, if you're in Kenya, apparently if you go to Masai Mara, it's cheaper to go on a safari tour there than it is in Tanzania. So that might be a good option for you to do. And as usual, you can also copy the same strategy that we talked about in Tanzania, where you can just go there first without booking anything online and negotiating with companies once you arrive in Nairobi for doing safaris in Masai Mara. Again, if you're paranoid that someone's gonna scam you, they do have a website called Kenya Association for Tour Operators. So if you are walking in the streets of Nairobi and you're talking to different tour companies, you can cross-reference with that website to make sure that they are on that list. And if they are on that list, it means that chances are that company is legitimate. So that's one good way for you to avoid being scammed while trying to save money when you're going on your African safari. The next place that people do safaris is in Namibia, specifically in Etosha National Park or in Skeleton Coast. Now, I've been to Namibia before, and I did not go on a safari there. And I think had I been smarter back then, and I did my due diligence and did proper research, I would have definitely gone and went to Etosha National Park, because in my opinion, it's probably one of the best places to see predators during a safari. Etosha National Park is very dry, almost desert-like climate. So when it becomes a dry season, the watering holes becomes even smaller, so a lot of animals have to congregate in the small watering holes. This gives the predators an unfair advantage and allows them to get their next meal much easier. So if you want to see predators in action, it's much easier to do that in Etosha National Park. Skeleton Coast is one of the coastlines in Namibia, and they have some interesting animals in that area, such as seals, hyenas, and a lion that lives in the coastline. So again, if you want to see a weird dynamic between predators and seals, the Skeleton Coast, I heard, is really amazing. I wish I got a chance to see it because I like this kind of stuff. Now, if you do safaris in Namibia, you basically have two options. You can either drive yourself, which is an okay option if you're a very good driver. It costs about $55 Canadian per day to rent a car in Namibia. Entrance fee to Etosha National Park is 80 Namibian dollar, which is about 750 Canadian. There's also a vehicle fee of 10 Namibian dollar, which is $1 Canadian. So as you can see, it's quite a budget destination to go on safaris if you drive yourself to Etosha National Park. However, there is one big downside to this, and that's Namibia has horrible roads. When I went to Namibia, I actually got in a car crash. Now, I wasn't a driver, but the person that was driving the car spun out of control because the roads are just absolutely horrible. And we ended up in a horrible car crash. Luckily for us, no one got hurt, but it's still not a wonderful experience to be in a car crash. It actually cost us a lot more money because now we had to pay the deductible after we returned the car to the car rental company. However, if you're a safe driver, I still think the driving option might be better in Namibia, because if you join a tour company, you're looking to pay about $1,150 US, and that's not cheap, and that's for a 7-day trip, and you're sleeping in tents. The next country that you can do African safaris in is Botswana. Now, I actually got a chance to do a safari in Botswana while I was staying in Zambia. I booked a tour to Chobe National Park through the hostel I was staying at called Jolly Boys Backpackers, and I paid $157 US for the full day Chobe National Park safari tour. So basically, we spent the first half of the day on a big tour vehicle and the second half on a boat. So in my opinion, if you want to go on a boat safari, then Botswana is a decent place to do it. With that being said, I'm not sure if Chobe National Park would actually be your best option. Botswana is actually more famous for the Okavango Delta. So I think if you're gonna do a safari, maybe you should go there instead. With that being said, Chobe National Park was still really good for seeing hordes of elephants. I've never seen so many elephants before. I even saw baby elephants, which was super cute.
Wow.
So if you like to see elephants, or maybe animals that's in the water like buffaloes or hippos, then Chobe National Park is a good option for you. Another country that you can do African safaris in is Uganda. Now, Uganda is actually not famous for seeing the big five animals, although they are present there. They're more famous for doing gorilla trekking. So if you want to see some mountain gorillas, then the Bwindi National Park is one of the best places for you to go and do that. Do keep in mind it's quite expensive. I remember I personally paid around $916 Canadian to go see the gorillas. This includes the permit and the tour operator. However, if you do want to see the big five animals, then the Queen Elizabeth National Park, I heard, was quite good for seeing lions. Apparently, they have very unique lions that climb trees. So if you want to see tree climbing lions, then the Queen Elizabeth National Park is a good place for you to check out. When I did my research, if you want to do a 3-day budget safari in Uganda, it's going to cost you about $350 US, which I think is not too bad actually. So that might be a good option for you. And finally, the next country that a lot of people would potentially consider for doing safaris is Rwanda. Now, Rwanda only has a few national parks where you can do safaris. So if you want to see gorillas, you can go to Volcanoes National Park. The problem is, the gorillas trekking in Rwanda is very expensive. You're looking to pay, I think, $1,500 US just to get the permit, which is so expensive. You can also do a safari where you can potentially see the big five at Akagera National Park. With that being said, there's actually not a lot of animals in Akagera National Park because I personally gone there myself. And if you want to do a night safari, which is mandatory if you want to see predators, because predators only come out at night, then you need to stay within the park, and then that means you need to stay in one of the accommodations inside the park. Now, the accommodations inside the park are rip-offs, so it's not really a pleasant experience in my opinion. I mean, my group, when we went, we didn't have a great time staying in the accommodations within the park. Now, with that being said, we did get very lucky though. So when we did the night safari, we did see a leopard. So maybe it was not all a loss. But in my opinion, if you want to see safari in Africa, then your best bet is to either go to Tanzania, Kenya, or South Africa. And if you want to see gorillas, then go to Uganda or the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, if you still insist on doing safari in Akagera National Park, then you can rent a car in Kigali for about $50 US per day. And you can also hire a guide once you're inside a park, which costs about $40 US per day for the whole car. If you want to do a night safari, it costs $40 US per person to go on the night safari, which lasts about 2.5 hours, I believe. Now, tours in Rwanda, if you want to go on a safari tour, is very expensive. I would not recommend it. Just for my research, it costs about $1,470 Canadian to go on a 7-day safari tour within Rwanda, and that's a lot of money. So I think you could take that money and spend it on a budget safari in Tanzania instead, or even better, go drive yourself when you are in South Africa. Now, in terms of flights, the best way to save money on flights to go to Africa is to use points and miles. So if you go with Aeroplan, then chances are you're going to be flying with Ethiopian Airlines, Turkish Airlines, or South African Airways. If you decide to go with a One World Alliance partner, then you probably have to use your Alaska miles and fly Cathay Pacific, going from North America with a connecting flight in Hong Kong and going all the way to Johannesburg, South Africa. You can also use your Avios, but the partner carrier that goes into Africa is definitely not cheap, which is Qatar Airways. So I recommend you stick with Airplan or use your Alaska miles and fly Cathay Pacific to enter Africa. Now, I will provide a link in the description below to how to earn Aeroplan miles as well as Alaska Airline miles, so that you know how to earn those miles, and then after you earn those miles, you can redeem them to go fly yourself to Africa. Just from a quick search on Skyscanner, it costs about $1,260 Canadian to fly to South Africa if you pay out of pocket, which is actually pretty good. I think it's actually been improving over the years and prices have been dropping. And if you want to go to Tanzania, then you're looking to pay about $1,350 Canadian to fly round trip into Tanzania. So again, look, it seems like the price have been dropping over the years, but I'd rather not pay that price, because when I flew to Africa last time, I went to Rwanda, I think I only paid about $355 to redeem my Aeroplan miles to go to Rwanda. Now, I could have easily done the same thing if I wanted to go to South Africa or Tanzania. So points and miles is definitely the way to go. Speaking of points and miles, if you want to save money on accommodation, then you definitely want to get some Marriott Bonvoy points. Because if you have some Marriott Bonvoy points, you can potentially redeem those points and get a free night stay when you are in those African destinations. Now, not all safari destinations have a Marriott property, but every little bit counts. So for example, if you go to Kruger National Park in South Africa, there is a Marriott right outside the park, so you can stay there. You can use your points, redeem it on the Category 2 hotel right outside Kruger National Park, which costs about 10 to 15,000 points per night. And if you get the Marriott Bonvoy card, then they give you about 51,000 points. So then you can easily stay between 3 to 5 nights outside Kruger National Park. Same goes for Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda. So a bunch of those countries do have Marriott properties. Now, like I said, some of them will only have the Marriott property in the capital city, which still might be good if you're just entering into the country, you're dead exhausted, you just need a place to stay. Or maybe you want to stay in a hotel in the capital city before you fly out of the country. So again, every little bit counts, and do go take advantage of getting Marriott Bonvoy points as a Canadian to redeem yourself a free hotel stay. So I'll provide a link below of some of the cards that you can get some Marriott Bonvoy points as well. So to wrap up this video, in my honest opinion, I think what you should do is either pick Tanzania or South Africa or Kenya as your safari destination. Use Aeroplan miles to get yourself to Africa, and try to get some Marriott Bonvoy points to get a few night free hotel stays. If you have the time, then I would recommend that you go to the country and negotiate with a tour company for a tour instead of booking it ahead of time. You can easily save 10 to 20% off the typical price for doing safaris if you do it through that method. And after you find a company that you think is reputable, do cross-reference it with either the Kenya or Tanzania Association of Tour Operators just to make sure that that company is legitimate and you're not getting scammed. So anyways, I hope that you found this video helpful. Don't forget to go to the description below and sign up to the Travel and Live Free newsletter where you can get a 10-step cheat sheet on how to travel around the world. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below, and I'll see you next time. Enjoy your time in Africa and have a fun safari. Bye-bye.